What I say to you at the outset as to what I'm going to speak to, which is dealing with enforcement investigations, is of necessity broad brush approach. The notes you've got in the pack, pages 19 to 28, are a reasonable distillation of what you require to know. Can I make a confession, please, at the outset? If you look at page 19 of those notes, final paragraph, you've heard already that this is an over-regulated industry, as if you didn't know that. An example of me getting carried away on the third line, where I'm speaking in terms of being arrested and being kept in the police station for 24 hours for even the most minor offences. That isn't to frighten you and say, well, if you commit a parking offence, you'll be in the nick for that long. It's reasonably minor offences in the context of what we're speaking of, so that's a slight misnomer. What I'm going to say now is, again, even more broad brush approach than before, and a few topics designed to stimulate your imagination and your interest. And also, I make it abundantly plain, because of the lack of time, firstly, I'm going to be very blunt, simply to emphasise the points that you need to think about. And secondly, because frankly, it's the way I think anybody doing this work, as we've done it for many years, must be, is I am very cynical. I might prefer the word realistic, but you need to be fairly cynical, I think, when you look at your duties. What most of these investigations come down to: Environment Agency, Health and Safety, Police Fraud Investigators, Trading Standards, HMRC, anything else you like to think of, is do you have a system? What is your system? Is it checked? Is it up to scratch? Does it work? And I'll come on to that in a moment. The options for you are, first of all, first point to discuss, why should you bother? The stats indicate, and I know that some of my colleagues went to a lecture, I think towards the end of last year, where a speaker said, the chances of you being visited by an enforcement agency investigator or facing a public inquiry, a tribunal, or a court hearing are slim. So why don't you take the risk? Why don't you basically decide, well, we'll do compliance when we feel like it, when we can get round to it, we won't check the systems properly, and we'll take the risk, because it may never happen. Now, that's an option, and you can do that. But the point about this is it's a false economy, because you are simply a hostage to fortune. Your driver gets stopped, there's an accident, a disgruntled driver leaves your employ and decides he wants to grass upon you in the criminal terminology. One of your creditors is fed up with the fact you're driving around an expensive car and you're always late paying his bills. One call to one enforcement agency, visit out of the blue, or if you're lucky you might be told it's coming, and you might have a fairly short time to prepare for it. If you are caught in those circumstances and you are non-compliant, you're a bit like the chap caught on the motorway for speeding, who says effectively what everybody else was doing. And the answer to that, ladies and gentlemen, is that may be so. Sunshine, old man, young man, whatever, you are the one in the frame, you are the one who's been caught, you've broken the law, it doesn't matter about anybody else. So that's the risk you can take, but that's an option.